Hello and welcome back to the Winning Agenda's coverage of online matches. I'm Jesse Marshall and I'm bringing you another game with my Apex deck. Just checking with our opponent if it's okay if we record this game. Looks like it is. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. To Aconic, always great to hear kind words. So thank you anytime. Always happy to hear anything nice. Thanks so much. That is really lovely. So we're up against Stronger Together here now, and I don't think I've ever played a game against Stronger Together, but we'll see how it goes. I'll keep this hand. Got a Sure Gamble, and Endless Hunger, and Diesel, as well as Hunting Ground. So this is a pretty awesome hand. Pretty happy with that. All right, so we'll Sure Gamble first. Oh, shit. No, I didn't mean to do that. Oops. That was our Apex trigger. Not a good start. Meant to play it, not install face down. Alright, so we'll try this again. Sure Gamble. Diesel, second click. Probably could have dieseled first. And then prepaid voice pad. We even had the chance to do a bit of a take back, but that's alright. So we'll play out the prepaid. I think we'll just... it's tough. Like, do we legwork to see all three just because our opponent hasn't protected it? Yeah, look, I mean... Yeah, it's a toughie. I don't know. Data Sucker... Yeah, I think we'll just go for it. See what we get. We'll trash Ash. Worst. There's an NAPD. And we will not trash Adonis because credits are good. Alright, so that didn't work out all that well. I guess at least we got rid of an Ash. And we know that there's an NAPD in there. And we also know that there's no ice in there. So that is something at least. We can credit up next turn and then get in there again. So this is probably, we're going to assume, a Bioroid, but we can never be sure. Could be an Enigma, which is a pretty good thing to have when your opponent's expecting a Bioroid. So let's install a Data Sucker face down. Gain a credit so we can get in there. Install Endless Hunger in case it is something like an Enigma. Run HQ to try and find that NAPD. Brain Taping Warehouse and Heimdall. Okay. Right. Okay, so 2 end the runs and 1 brain damage. Well, I think we can break the end the runs and cop the brain damage. I mean, that's not a huge deal if it's going to give us a 50% chance of scoring an agenda. So we'll trash that. We'll click and we'll take a brain damage. Losing the other Data Sucker. Hopefully not the end of the world. Although it is going to make it rather expensive for us to get through these Bioroids later on. Because we've now lost both of our Data Suckers. And we miss on the 50% chance. So, all not going as well as it possibly could have from our very good opening hand, thanks to a series of unfortunate events and misplays. Minor misplays. I mean, we would have been only slightly better off if we'd gone ahead and played out the prepaid voice pad before Sure Gambling. So no face downs straight away. I think we'll play out Hunting Grounds and then run R&D, because there's not all that much scary that can come at us for 6 credits, I don't think. Could be a Roto. It's Victor. All right. Victor 2. Yeah, we can't really afford to go taking more and more brain damage. It is a Trace 1? No, Trace 2. Yeah, I don't think we want to pay 2 for a Trace at this point. We could use the Hunting Grounds to get 3 cards, just break the end of the run with one of those cards at Endless Hunger, and then cop the Trace. But I don't think that we want to give ourselves another brain damage and go down to 2 maximum hand size. So I think we'll just click through and hope that we have some good fortune. Green level. All right. So not great. Next turn, we might need to trash this brain taping warehouse. I mean, possibly could have gone in and done it that turn, but I think it's giving our opponent, just a little bit too much in terms of economy at this point. So there goes that green level. Mr. Jackson Howard. And a use. Okay. So we can draw first, so we can find. Draw again. That's good. Get a couple of credits. So I know I said I would go for that brain tapping that turn, but I don't think it's that big a deal whether we do it that turn or the next one. And I think we really needed to find a few more options for ourselves. I don't think going right down to 0 just to get rid of that brain tapping warehouse, whilst it will stymie our opponent's economic development a little bit, I think it will be a bit too much of a hit for us at this point to allow us to keep up the pressure that we're realistically going to need to get into servers before they become far too expensive. Draw. Now, here's an interesting one, hey. If we can get an E3, I think Apocalypse is actually going to be really, really good for us here. Because this deck's going pretty horizontal and... yeah. So we're going to need an E3, really, is about it. So we can just sort of try and find that. The less we have in play on the Apocalypse, obviously, the better. So we'll just dirty laundry. Oh, it's a bit late now. So it's going to be 2 turns away before we can safely afford to Apocalypse. But that's okay. I don't anticipate that we're going to see those centrals become significantly more taxing over the next couple of turns. So this Hunting Grounds is going to give us enough fuel to get into the 3 centrals on its own, so we don't need to go installing anything face down. The problem for us is going to be finding... Okay. So we can... That's fine. It just means we can run R&D last. To give as little benefit as possible off the brain taping warehouse. Okay, so this turn we're going to be setting up to hopefully try an Apocalypse next turn. Draw. So what I'm drawing for is to try and find a little bit more economy. And or no, that is probably about it. So that's... I'm just doing the maths in my head. 2 and the run subroutines is going to be either 1 of these 3 cards plus 2 credits, or 2 of these cards and 1 credit. And then we've got the similar issue here. We're going to need to pay for that. So I think we can safely gain credits, because if we can make as I also on the same turn, that's probably going to give us the best value in terms of those 3 runs we make as well. Ideally, it would be nice to find a dirty laundry, but that's reasonably unlikely, given that we've already seen one. All right, so, I mean, it is going to be reasonably tough to get past all of this if that's another couple of bioroids, both with... If they both have in the run subroutines and only one other, that's going to cost us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 credits. Plus the 3 for Apocalypse minus 1, which makes 7. So we're right on track to do that, and it's going to cost us 1, 2, 3, 4 cards, which we can have as long as we install one of these prepaids face down now. All right. So we won't be able to make as I, which is unfortunate, but then I guess being able to make as I next turn is okay. Although we won't have Endless Hunger. Yeah, all right. I think we'll give this a go. We'll go Archives. So we'll go to Jackson use. We'll run HQ. Victor 1.0. Okay. So we'll use the hunting grounds. What do we lose? Wasteland and 2 heartbeats. Not ideal, but not that awful. So card to trash, yes, and use E3. Continue. Card to trash. E3. E3. Continue. That's really annoying. Jackson is the card that we really don't want our opponent to have when we're trashing a whole lot of face down cards. We don't want them just recycling stuff, and if that, say, is an agenda that they've played out, then it's a bit annoying. But that's all right. We'll just leave that for now. We'll run R&D. So we're hoping that this is just a 2 subroutine Bioroid. If it's a 3 subroutine Bioroid, we'll cry. All right. Got there. Break. Continue. Break. Break. If there's a snare or something, I'll cry. It's a beta test. That's much better for us. And then we can Apocalypse for our last click. So I think that worked out reasonably well for us. I mean, our opponent did get huge swathes of discounts on those ice from the brain taping warehouses, but they're going to have to now set up again, and they're down a few impactful pieces of ice and 2 brain taping warehouses. Unfortunately, we're also down a few cards, although, I mean, that being said, we, didn't have a huge number of cards in our rig. 3. They were 3 good cards, but I think we definitely came off better from that Apocalypse, because the ice was starting to get a bit out of hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, I mean, we've got to set up as well here. But if we can land a Maker's Eye next turn, which we'll be able to do, I'm fairly confident if we play it first click. think that will be fine. Although we'll assume that we're going to see Jackson shuffle back in some ice here. No face down installs. So we'll just see what we can find. I'm not going to try and pressure the R&D or HQ this turn. I'm just going to try and force the Jackson use. Which we got. Just to, you know, hopefully again increase the density of agendas and also deny the Jackson uses on the next couple of turns. So give our opponent the least possible number of options is usually a good approach. So there's some shuffling, we'll assume, going on. Green level clearance and what we can only assume were 2 agendas, which means that our Maker's Eye next turn is now looking quite good. So we'll get the prepaid voice pad ready. And if we can draw into a legwork as well over the next couple of turns, that'll be good. Because, you know, there may have been some agendas that started to clog up that HQ during those Jackson uses, although given that 2 cards were discarded and shuffled back in addition to the green level that were face down, would assume that they're agendas, because I think the brain taping warehouses are probably more important than anything else other than agendas for our opponents to shuffle back in. That being said, we obviously don't know what's in the list, but just from how it's played so far, I think that's probably the case. We've got an upgrade coming down on HQ, which makes me think that that's either some sort of destroyer and he's trying to trigger, sorry, they're trying to trigger with Marcus Batty, or that there's agendas in HQ, one or the other. So I think we'll just make his eye straight up. I mean, it's obviously possible that these aren't Bioroids and that we're going to get blown out by some sort of hard in the run here. However, the whole point of that apocalypse was to give us a little bit more time to get into these servers and a little bit more access, so a little bit more ready access. So we'll hope that this is just a Bioroid that we can click through. So no res, it's always good. Possibly a Heimdall or something. What have we got? An NAPD we can't steal, that's frustrating. Another NAPD we can't steal, also frustrating. And a Marcus. Alright, so there's going to be some agendas coming into HQ in the next couple of turns. Sorry, should have drawn first. It's alright, another Crypsis, alright, that can go face down. And a credit. Alright, so I think we can gain a credit and run HQ probably next turn. I think that's a reasonably good approach. Unless that's the NAPD that's gone straight down. But I'm going to assume that that's an Adonis or something, not an NAPD. Haven't seen any biotics yet. Doesn't mean to say that we couldn't see a biotic and score the NAPD if that is one next turn. But I think that we're reasonably safe to just try and get into HQ. So we'll gain a credit and go again. Can we find the NAPD in there this time? So we've got 1 legwork and 1 Maker's Eye left in the deck. Okay, so there's another brain taping warehouse and a Marcus. So we'll click the end the run and we'll trash an installed card. Caprice, all right. I think we've got a reasonably good run against Marcus most of the time. Okay, so let's sigh. Just let our opponent there know that we did trash a card. Which you can see here. Trashes a card from their rig. Very good. All right. Continue. Hopefully we can win this side game. So we're going to spend 1 because our opponent is going to expect to spend 0 because we want to be able to steal the NAPD. But I'm going to bet that they wouldn't have put that Caprice there unless there was another agenda still in HQ. So we'll give that a go. We may hit the NAPD and look silly, but at least we get to get rid of the Caprice now. That's fine. Yeah, look, the NAPD I think is stuck there for a few turns and we get through Marcus for 1 click. So if we can find it again next turn or the turn after, that'll be fine. But the Caprice was going to be annoying if we had to hit that over and over again because we were going to have to pay at some point to get through it. Might as well have been then when we'd already spent a card and a click to get in. Yeah, I mean, from our opponent's perspective, they could have spent 0 on the expectation that we would value getting rid of the Caprice more than stealing the NAPD there. But I think from their perspective, spending 1 was fine. Like, it protected the NAPD, which is more important. Because there was a chance, obviously, if they spent 0, that we would also spend 0, and then we would get in and be able to trash the Caprice anyway. So anyway, sorry, our last click, I think we'll gain a credit to give ourselves maximum chance to get in next turn. Sorry, I thought it was the end of the turn there, and so I was doing a bit of over-analysis on that side game. But no, it's always good to win a side game and get in. All right, brain taping warehouse. Gonna have to deal with that at some point. So let's draw. We'll just draw a couple of cards. So Endless Hunger, not really one we want to lose, but that may be a destroyer. Now what? I reckon we'll just run that on our last click, because if it's an itchy or something, that's probably the worst it can be, and our opponent won't be able to res it if we have no clicks left when we make the run. So we'll just draw and we'll play a Wasteland, play the Endless Hunger, and run R&D. So now we've got no clicks, but we have an Endless Hunger to break any end the runs that are there, and we're going to be getting some credits back from the Wasteland. All right. Hedge fund. All right. No problem. So we might see a credit hedge fund from our opponent here. We do. Okay. I think now that we've got the Endless Hunger back online, we can start being a bit threatening, but we're going to have to find more cards to be able to do that. And that's a good start. Getting ourselves back up to 9, also pretty important, because it's going to allow us to play out the rest of our rig if we can draw it in the next few turns and play things like quality times over the next little while. So our opponent just trying to consolidate again, trying to build up. We didn't manage to, I guess, capitalize on that apocalypse as much as we probably would have liked. But I don't think we're in a bad position, and we've managed to get ourselves back up to at least an Endless Hunger without allowing our opponent to score anything. 1, 2, 3, sure, gamble, because we want to make as much use of that prepad as we can. And the Dyson Mem chip's going to allow us to host the Crypsis, which I think will be a good backup. I'd want to not invest too heavily in Crypsis at this stage, because I want to have more credits be flexible for more for a different range of things that we might draw, that we might need to invest in instead. But being able to know that we can play the Crypsis if we absolutely need to. If our opponent tries to rush something out behind a remote here, is always a good position to be in. And Crypsis being quite click intensive, playing the short gamble last turn, I think will stand us in good stead if we did have to do that. 3 ice on HQ now. So we know that there's the 2 NAPDs in HQ. So if we can get to a point with 2 Jacksons out of the game, it's unlikely our opponent's going to find the third one and be able to release that valve of pressure on their HQ. So if we can sort of get an E3 and get a bit more HQ pressure and have enough credits to be able to legwork and afford double NAPD, which is a big ask, but if we can do that, then we should be able to score some points. Maker's Eye is always nice to have, so we'll hold on to that for the next couple of turns. We might be able to use it a bit better. And Quality Time also a nice one. So I think next turn we'll sort of install a Harbinger face down, Quality Time to give ourselves the best chance to use those cards. And then I think the turn after that, we should be able to quite safely Maker's Eye. So up to 13. Hopefully we can find the other E3. There we go. So we're not going to need to go all in on those events this turn. So we can sort of stage this a little bit. Heartbeat. Yeah, look, I think Heartbeat will be good because it allows us to turn these cards into credits essentially, because it's credits we avoid spending on E3 to break things like Victor that we can instead just use the Heartbeat for. And then that also will potentially give us another credit off Wasteland if we haven't used any others that turn. So Heartbeat, good, not amazing, but good. Also, I guess the secondary effect is that it gives us the opportunity to host both the Mimic and the Crypsis. Although Mimic without the data suckers against this deck I don't think is going to be doing heaps of work unless we see Roto Turret. And that might just be a nice thing to have, but then, you know, Crypsis does a reasonable job against Roto Turret anyway. And in fact, Endless Hunger deals with Roto Turret when you've got an E3 feedback implants in place, so we definitely don't need the Mimic. For that purpose, at least. In turns, and I'm guessing we're going to see Caprice coming down, I'm assuming on HQ. I mean, it's not going to give our opponent that much of a benefit. No, we're seeing ice. Okay, was that a face-up ice? Was that a face-up ice? Always good to get as much info as we can. When we're calculating how many credits we're going to need to get in. So we'll start the turn. I think we can afford to lose the Mimic now. Yeah, I don't think we need to Maker's Eye this turn. We can just keep setting this up. Maybe they won't all face up. That's okay, we'll leave it. Not a problem. So we'll take one from there. I think we probably want to go after the Brain Taping Warehouse this time. Just because it's going to make rezzing multiple ice really difficult for our opponent there. Okay. Itchy. We'll just click through that 3 times. and we'll end up on a very reasonable number of credits. I mean, we could have used E3, I guess. Probably would have been better, because this gives our opponent a chance to recuperate and gain a few more credits to keep this server online. I'll keep the defenses online. Yeah, it probably would have been better for us to use the E3 there and then just try the Maker's Eye. But that being said, waiting another turn, also okay, because we get a chance to use our prepaid voice pad credit again. Next turn. I'm fairly confident that now if we run, if we Maker's Eye early in this turn, that we will be able to get in. So that's another Caprice, we'll assume, which is a bit of a bummer now, because it pretty much becomes sort of a 1 in 3 at this point-ish, which is not great, considering we're only going to be able to make that run potentially once every few turns. All right. Don't think we want anything face down. And I think now if we run click 1, we should be able to deal with most things that could get in our way. So Itchy's really, or something like Itchy, is the only big threat. So that's fine. Get through that one. Now, do we want to save some clicks here or use the credits? I mean, given that we've seen 2 NAPDs and there could be a third that we run into, I think if we try and stay as high on credits as possible, that's probably good. And we're now probably going to have to use some amount of credits here. I mean, this could be another Itchy, and it would have been, yeah. Okay, so that was a mistake. If we'd kept yep. If we'd kept a click, then we could have used the click and E3 credits. So that was just pretty greedy, I guess, to try and get past and keep as many credits intact. Yeah, I mean, realistically, like if we'd spent 1 or 2 credits, we still would have been well above NAPD strength. So that's fine. We'll meet the strength, and then we'll hope that this is not an Eli, although we'll assume that it probably is at this point. Yeah, there we go. All right, nicely done. Yeah, like it's not the end of the world for us with our opponent being on 0, because we can now get into that HQ reasonably readily. So yeah, I mean, we do have still 1 more Endless Hunger, and I think, you know, if we can find that, it'll allow us to get in anywhere. But we're probably, to be honest, better off without programs at this point, given that we have the E3. Oh, I need to press check out, sorry. Cool. So next turn we've got, assuming our opponent doesn't earn too much money, we can get into R&D and or HQ. All right, so 1, 2, 3. I think what we'll do is go into the R&D early. So we'll run R&D. So, yep, let my opponent know. Fire the trace. Yep. So it's going to cost us 2 credits to get past these, assuming they're not pumped, which I don't think they will be. And then it shouldn't be too expensive for us to get in and trash that Caprice, because our opponent can only spend 0. So we'll use a click and a credit. See what's on top? Nope. We'll run, pardon me, HQ. No res. We'll assume there's going to be no res all the way down. And now we can get in here for actually +1 credit, so we can trash an installed card and then use our click. Get in. And yeah, I mean, there's no point to our opponent resing the Caprice there, because we're going to be able to bid 0 anyway. So that's good. So we'll access the upgrade and trash that. And then we'll access and finally get one of those NAPDs, pardon me, which is good news. And then presumably next turn, we'll hopefully be able to get in and grab the other one. I think if we run with, oh, I didn't notice there was an install over. That's what happens when you have this funny glitch going on. I just assumed that was still the brain taping warehouse. That's all right. We now may not be able to get in, but we still may. But I think we'll just gain some credits, and we'll draw first, see what we find. That's always nice. 2 is, I think we have to trash that melange realistically this turn, so we can dirty laundry there. No, hang on, sorry, we need to gain a credit first. Gain a credit, dirty laundry to be able to trash, need to gain a credit to be able to trash the melange. We're going to cop a brain damage on a tag, which is okay, because brain damage is actually +1 credit for us right now, which is good. Fire. And I'm not terribly worried about a tag. I mean, if we lose the wasteland and our opponent's down 2 credits, that's okay. Yep. Okay, we'll prevent the brain damage. Gain our credit. Continue and trash the melange. And then we'll draw another card, hoping to find a legwork sometime soon. So legwork or our 3rd Endless Hunger would be nice. And this turn, if we can manage to draw into some more economy, we can get rid of that tag. Now, Hunting Grounds there's not a lot of when encountered going on here, and I think the utility for us of having the top 3 cards of our stack going to play is very low at this point. So we'll just install that as face down fodder. Another Apocalypse. I really don't think we can recover effectively from another Apocalypse. I mean, I know we can get back our Endless Hunger. Sorry, we can get our 3rd Endless Hunger, but I think the E3 is an important piece of the puzzle for us at this point. So we probably don't want to be using the Apocalypse. 1, 2, not terribly effective. 3rd click, I think we'll just run R and D. We don't have another Maker's Eye in the deck, do we? No. So, I mean, at this point, yeah, we can cop some tags, and that's not a huge problem for us. And if we do cop brain damage, then it's actually just the first one at least is a credit we're getting back. And we just want to try and find some agendas realistically. So we'll go there. Fire the itchies. So we'll cop the first one. Oh, sorry, we've actually got a link, so don't need to worry about that. That all works very nicely. Thank you, Dyson Memchip. All right, so we can now click this one and then break. Oh, click rather. Access interns. Okay, so nothing exciting. So it's costing us a click and a credit, essentially, to get into R&D, which is a pretty good deal considering that there's 3 res dice with a combined total res cost of 13 sitting there. Internsing back something relevant, we'll assume. Possibly a Caprice on HQ. Let's see if we can spot what disappears this time. Choosing, I would presume, between Caprice and Melange, but yeah, I think Caprice probably more important. All right. So a little bit annoying having Caprice come back again. Don't think we're going to be needing that Dyson Mem chip. Okay. 1, 2. And then we'll just go on R&D again. Yeah, I mean, I think our opponent is going to have to get to the point where they start a daily business showing at some point. And if they were putting those agendas on the bottom, then we're going to start seeing them pretty soon. I think it's probably been out for about 7 or 8 turns. So we assume that the last 7 or 8 cards in R&D are cards that our opponent put there with the daily business show. Click on a credit. And is it an NAPD? It's a global food initiative. All right, well, that's helpful. So hopefully we can find the last agenda in the next couple of turns. I mean, now looking back on it, losing that Endless Hunger to the second Itchy was not the end of the world. It sort of made R&D a lot easier for us, and it put our opponent so low on credits that we were able to get into HQ and trash the Caprice, which then forced our opponent to use the interns and spend a lot more time doing that, all the while we've been getting into R&D even more cheaply. So it hasn't been too bad at all. It's sort of unfortunate that we haven't been gaining the extra credit from the brain damage from Itchy each turn. All right, so this might be a relevant piece of ice to keep us out of R&D, but if it is, then I think we're going to be able to get into HQ more easily. So we'll just install the so I do. I think we'll install the hunting grounds face down again. We're running out of cards as we discussed earlier, so hunting grounds not terribly effective. We'll gain a credit or 2. No, we'll gain a credit because we still need a click for Eli. So yes, let's try R&D now. So with 2 clicks, and hopefully this will be something that will allow us to trash a card. No, it's an architect. Okay. Not ideal. But again, not completely terrible. Because our opponent is going to have to, with us having 2 clicks left, we could jack out now and then run whatever they install off R&D, if they install something into that server 7. Or we could, because we're going to have an extra click, even if we do go in and break through the Eli, we can then go to HQ, which is going to be pretty hard for them to defend, I think. Okay, so they've installed a card into server 7. So which position was that? Always good to know, because if it was the top card, it's usually more likely to have been an agenda. All right. So that just means they think that we can go there with our last click. I don't think we want to abandon this run. Or maybe we do. I mean, if we do abandon it, then we're pretty much a lock to be able to get in here, assuming that's a Bioroid. So yeah, I think we'll jack out. We'll run server 7. And if it's not a Bioroid, then we can still go to HQ anyway. Okay, so it is. So we'll break Eli. So we haven't got, I don't think, much economy left in the deck. We've got a couple of lucky finds. Okay, that's good to know. Continue. Trace from Itchy. And continue. And it looks like we got it. All right. So that worked out quite well in the end. E3 sort of got us there through the Bioroid maze. Thank you all for watching. We'll thank our opponent for the game as well. And I hope to see you all again with the next game. I'm going to try and record a couple more with Apex. I hope you've enjoyed the game so far. And we'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.